Hey there, true believers. Welcome back to the Bear Your Shield podcast. I'm your host, Ron Scheffler, and I have a special guest in the studio today, my daughter-in-law, Nayoung. Welcome, Nayoung. Thanks for coming in today.
Hello.
Everything going all right? You got a little few extra pounds today on you, and what's happening?
Yes, I am currently 37 weeks pregnant, and my due date is April 11th. It's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, so excited. Can't wait to meet the little guy. So when we start out, Nayoung, so you're not an American citizen. You came all the way from Korea to be on the show today. I'm teasing, but no, you married Jake, our oldest son here. You guys have been married for 6 years now, right?
Yeah.
First child on the way. Tell me, for our Korean listeners out there, where are you from in Korea?
Well, I moved around a lot, but currently my parents are in Paju. It's very close to North Korea, actually. About 30 minutes from DMZ. And I've lived in Incheon, Jeonju, Gyeonggi, many places because my dad was in Air Force.
Okay, so all over the country.
Yes.
Okay, so you're kind of used to moving around. Not I guess an Air Force brat, we could call you almost, right? So that might explain some things here for our family gatherings. So tell me a little bit, like, how long ago did you come to the United States?
I came to the States in January 2014, so it's been 12 years, I think. That's hard to believe.
And so you came, and you came for school. Whose choice was it? Was it your choice? Was it your parents prodding?
Yeah, I would say it was my choice, but my parents asked me first. It was never like in my head, like, oh, I want to study abroad. My parents, even when I was in elementary school, they asked me, like, what do you think about studying abroad to broaden your perspective of the world? And my dad is a pilot, and so my parents, they've always wanted me to like study English and to learn more about cultures and different parts of the world. So yeah, they asked me first, but it was my choice. Like, I made a decision to come to the States, and I don't know, I thought it would be fun, and I was nervous and like anxious about it, but I also maybe didn't want to disappoint my parents a little bit.
Yeah.
So
There's always a level of that when you're a kid, right?
yeah.
So you did, with your dad being in the Air Force and moving around a bit, there hasn't been a lot of dust settling, so to speak, on your family. You've moved around a little bit and things like that. I kind of wonder, with him traveling around, certainly that gave him some confidence or comfortability, I guess would be the right word to kind of ask you about coming over here. But you came to school, and you came over, and that was middle school or high school that you came for?
I was a junior in high school.
Junior in high school,
Yep.
Okay. And so your parents were probably supportive, right? You said they kind of asked you. And
Yes.
what was there, was there a driving force that said you should go and this is why? Was it just world experience or?
Yeah, I think, I don't know. Like, they just wanted me to learn English. I think that was like their main reason. And at the time, I was already in like an international school. So I was studying in English, like taking classes in English and whatnot, even though I didn't speak English at all. And so they were like, well, we're paying about this much tuition here, and we would be paying the same amount if you went to this school in Florida. So why don't we try that? So there was that aspect too.
Yeah, and you said to learn English, and I think your English is pretty good. But
Thank you.
I'm going to let out a little secret that you told us, in that sometimes if you do not want to talk to somebody, you say that you don't understand English too well. So
sometimes I just smile and I'm like nodding. And
well, I think that's safe and that's fair. We all want some of our private space. So you're excited about coming over?
Yeah, I mean, I was excited, but I was also nervous, especially about flying here, like without knowing the language, it's a little bit scary flying alone. Having to carry like these huge suitcases.
So mom and dad didn't come with you when you first came. It was just you.
Nope,
Oh, okay.
just me.
Load up on the plane, get out. I see how that goes.
Yeah.
So, so tell me about the school experience here in the United States. So you went to Florida, is that right, for high school?
Yes. Yeah. So it was a very strict Christian high school in Florida, and I was there from the second semester of my junior year, and I graduated there.
Okay, so and whereabouts in Florida roughly? Do you remember the area?
Pensacola.
Pensacola,
So where
okay.
that Bible Belt
Sure. Okay.
is.
Did you have Bible classes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. We had to go to these worship services and Bible class. We had to memorize verses, like I believe it was weekly. And
In English?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I remember walking to the school with a little note card, like just memorizing.
Oh, that's great. When you before you came, you're a good student, right? Were you an A student in Korea before you came over here?
I think I've always tried my best to study and whatnot, but before I was in that international school that I just mentioned, I was in like a music specialized high school for about a semester. And when I was there, my focus was only music.
Ah, okay.
So
Truth is coming out now,
yep.
Mom and Dad, in case you listen later.
So like English class or science class, I sometimes would just like nap on the desk and just, yeah, music was my focus then. And when I went to the international school, I was like, oh no, like I'm not gonna be able to get good grades. So I had to really try.
Well, we know you're a hard worker, especially in school, because we had the privilege of coming to your college graduation, and that was really cool to see that. And you were near the top of your class, if I recall right. So you did something right along the way. But yeah, I it's nice to hear the differences. But you've done really well on your own. You have a strong personality, I feel. And then so now you come to high school. And how did you do in high school in the United States? Though, was it difficult without learning the language? Did you feel extra burden coming here?
Yeah, even though I studied in an international school and the classes were in English, like I really didn't understand much. And especially Florida, I think their accent was very strong too.
Oh, sure.
And
Yeah.
I remember my English teacher, junior year, she talked very fast. So I remember like looking around, like if my peers like flip a page, I do the same thing, just pretending like I know what I'm doing. And like if they start writing something, I just scribble random words on the book. So I did not do well at all, like the first quarter semester or so. Like I remember getting like straight Fs on quizzes
Oh, boy.
and tests and stuff. And that school had lots of pop quiz too. So that was fun. Like I tried so hard to like study and everything, but because I joined like during the second semester, I think I can be a perfectionist in a like negative way, maybe. Like I stress myself a little bit, so I felt like I had to study from the beginning of the unit instead of like catching up where we were at the time. And so that didn't work well. Like I kept getting Fs.
Sure.
And so I'm like, oh, I can't keep doing this because my grades, like junior year is very important in like college applications. And so I started studying where we were, and I started getting like, okay, 60s, Ds and Cs. And so, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I feel bad for you hearing this now for the first time. Like I just assumed like you kind of came here and you were uber smart to begin with, and you're just learning the language, and so you would just naturally kind of succeed here as well. So you were kind of behind the eight ball, so to speak, as we say, and then you had to catch up and plus do well. Were you in touch with your folks at the time and telling them about your grades, like, or were you kind of like maybe not telling them what you were getting?
I don't remember telling them like, oh, I got F or I got D or something like that, but I do remember telling them like I am struggling, but I am trying hard. And yeah, I just remember telling them we have a curfew slash like light out time, or we had as an international student, we had to live in a dorm where the college students were living in. And they had to turn the lights off like at 10 p.m. So I remember like not being able to finish homework and test stuff, studying for tests. So I went into the bathroom like trying to finish
Oh boy.
because the lights were off and I couldn't continue. So like I would tell them stories like that, and I mean they can't really. What are they gonna say to that? Like you got a D or
Yeah.
yeah. So
What? Tell me a little bit then. So you kind of felt like there was a little bit of some pressure. One, I would say a lot of pressure from you on you because of the language barrier that you were learning. But then, tell us a little bit about school system in Korea and how maybe you felt it was versus a school in America.
I would say in general, I think Korean schools focus a lot more like studying, like academically, and I know there are some schools that are like that here in the States, but I wonder if it's focused more on like extracurricular stuff, like round education. I hear that a lot here, but it's not really a thing in Korea, maybe. And so here, like a lot of students participate in sports and music activities, theater, but in Korea, like we just have general music classes, orchestra, band. They're not really a thing. And yeah, we would run like one lap during PE class, but that's about it. Like no cross country teams or
No
volleyball
dodgeball.
team.
No.
Yeah, no teams like that. We would just play a game in PE, but that's about it. We just focus a lot on studying.
Okay. But in your school day, tell me a little bit about your school day. Like how long was it?
I think for high school, so I didn't go to like the regular public high school in Korea. I went to the music high school and then the international school. But from what I heard from my friends, they would start like I believe 7 a.m. and then it goes till 10 p.m. And it really depends on like what school you go to, but I know that they have dinner at school, most of them, and yeah, they have to have that extra study sessions even after the classes are done in the afternoon.
Yeah, so that's 15 hours. And,
Yeah.
our kids here in the United States complain after about 6 or 7, maybe even earlier than that, I think.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say that you feel that there's more pressure in the Korean schools versus American schools?
I think so. Yeah, like for example, we have like SAT type of test, like an annual test, but it's a lot more competitive and serious, I think. So when there's an annual SAT, like Korean style SAT in November, that's when we have it. Like the airplanes stop flying during like the listening portion.
Wow.
If your school is near airports. And like I would hear unfortunate news that students like would end their lives because they didn't think they did well
That's so
on the
sad.
tests. Yeah. So I think it's very competitive.
Yeah. That does. Did you feel like where did you feel the most pressure to succeed in like Korea? Was it all about getting the grades? Do you feel or?
I did feel a little pressure getting good grades. Well, so English was my least favorite subject, and on this one test, I got like 30 some points out of 100. So it was fail. And I remember calling my mom, and she was never like strict about like grades. She was never like scolding me or like getting mad if I didn't get good enough grades or anything like that. But I just felt that pressure from the society and from the classes.
The competition from your peers. And,
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I remember, because it's like 34, whatever the number was, like I remember forging it like to 84. Like I drew the other half of it and told my mom like, yeah, I got 84. And, like she didn't really check or anything. She was like, oh yeah, good job. And then, so.
Well, now she knows. Now she
right,
knows.
she now does.
Okay, so now we fast forward a few years. You get out of high school and you continue in the United States. You head up to Wisconsin, Stevens Point, where you met our son Jake. And so now you guys, you're in a multicultural marriage, and you've seen both countries' educational systems. So here on the Bob Barry Shield podcast, I kind of feel like in some ways, being a teacher yourself for a few years here, teaching string instruments and being in the education system besides as a teacher, besides a student, that I really feel you'll be protecting your kids. You want to educate your kids and protecting them from maybe the downsides of both systems. Neither one is perfect, but how do you think between you and Jake that you guys will raise your kids or educate them?
I think we still would have to talk a lot more about it, but when I thought about this question, I mean, like in both countries, even a Christian school, like I did attend a Christian school in like both countries, and even they didn't necessarily protected me from the world, or like it didn't help deepening the relationship with God. So like I don't necessarily think like, oh, I'm gonna send my kids to Christian schools like to protect them. I think wherever they go, the most important thing is like educating them early, like since they're just babies, maybe just teaching them about God, and honestly just like praying that and I don't say this like in a passive way, like I mean like as in actively praying every day, like crying out to the Lord to protect them and for them to know him more and to have a personal relationship, so they can make those good choices when they're in a school system. Like I really don't think there's anything I can do as a parent. Like even when I was a teacher, there were a lot of things that we were required to teach, and I just if you don't have that foundation from young age, they're going to be very confused and they're going to drift away from God.
Sure, I I understand what you're saying, and I would not think that you would be passive on that, because I know you're a strong believer. You actually stayed with us for a couple of months. I can't remember how long it was. Probably too long for you, because it was just you and Mom and I. But Jake was away military for the summer, and I know you came and stayed. And I just remember one evening, I thought you were hurting or you were upset about something, but you were praying passionately. And I know Mom went up to check on you, and you were okay. But I just remember that, and I felt bad for interfering with your passionate prayer. But I would expect, nothing less from you as a mom to raise your children in the faith. And I'm really happy to hear that as a grandpa. So.
Yeah, and also I think they will learn from like watching me and Jake, like how we have a relationship with God, like how we pray daily, we read the Bible. And like I remember watching my mom, I would say she's like a prayer warrior, and like she would go to morning prayer sessions, and she kind of like made my sister and I to go with. And so I remember like in elementary school, I wasn't even praying. I was just sleeping, and she still made us go, and like I just watch her pray. And so that's become like almost like a part of my life. Like, oh, when there are hard things, we pray to God. Like, so I think even without like teaching them directly, telling them what to do, like if we live the way that God wants us to live, I think it'll like maybe the kids will see that.
Yeah,
from like
see it in action.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's smart because, I remember my my mom would read her Bible on her couch, and she didn't talk a lot about things from a deep spiritual situation. It was always like, well, that's what you're supposed to do, according to God. But I would see her read the Bible, and that always stuck with me whenever I kind of didn't feel like I wanted to read. I would remember that my mom did, and she at least exemplified reading her Bible. So that's a good memory, a sweet memory that you have of your mom, and that'll sustain you long into the future, and when you become a grandma too. When you think back on that.
Yes.
So can we pivot to your marriage? Is that okay? So typically, we talk about the excitement of a new marriage here in the United States. And the reality is that we really should talk about both the excitement and the initial struggles, because there's so many things that couples get into arguments about. I know like finances are a big thing, and Jesus talked about finances most than any other subject in the Bible, right? Because he knew that would be a tough one. Other expectations and things that just kind of crop up. But sometimes that first year can be the toughest. And being in a multicultural marriage, do you think there were things that maybe you're unprepared for, that you and Jake weren't necessarily like ready to do dual cultures?
Yes. Yes. And Jake and I both thought like, oh, I think we're good. Like, yeah, we're intercultural, but we won't have those issues. Like, and yeah, we were very wrong. Well, first thing that popped up in my head is obviously communication barriers. Like, I speak better English now, but even now there are still misunderstandings like that come from choice of words I use or that he uses, and like how we say things, and like I wouldn't understand what's being implied when we're talking to each other. And so
sarcasm, right?
Right, yeah. So yeah, like, so especially in the beginning, well, it's been only 6 years, but like the first couple years I remember like, oh my gosh, this is really hard. And I know Jake probably had to be patient with me too, because like the way I say certain things come across a little harsh. Like I know that now. And I didn't mean to hurt him or anything, but it's just like, the translation, just some things get lost in translation, and it just sounded harsh without meaning to. And yeah, so definitely communication is a big thing.
Yeah, I remember when we met you for the first time, Jake brought you home, and we saw Jake's car pull up in the driveway, and we were wondering, okay, well, here she comes. And we knew how we felt about you. And so we're waiting and waiting and waiting, and we peeked out in the driveway, and, I think Mom was like, are they making out in the car or something, and then and so then we were peeking out, and then I'm like, get away from the window, like, what if she's nervous? And then we found out that you guys were praying because you really were nervous about meeting us. Yeah. And I think it was maybe a couple minutes in, and you were like, oh, you guys and Jake are just alike, I'm fine. So I'll cherish that memory, because I remember the look on your face when you seemed to finally be like, this is fine.
Yeah, because like in Korea, you don't really meet your boyfriend's or a girlfriend's family until you're like committed for marriage, or like you're about to discuss a wedding date. And so I think I was like maybe more nervous than I could have been. So Yeah, I remember that.
Well, you might have been a little nervous about it, but I think deep down you were ready to say yes to him anyways early on. I think you guys are both antsy towards
Yeah,
each other a bit,
right.
early on.
Yeah.
So how are there other things that from maybe specific tips that maybe you can offer others that might be in a similar situation like you and Jake?
Um, I think, well, what what I do to protect my marriage, is that I just poured it out to God. Like I just pray, and I've learned that people will not change their behavior, their way of thinking, or how they talk that easily. I'm sure many people know that.
Huh.
And and the same goes for me. Like I didn't know that I was stubborn until I was married to Jake. This one time we were like arguing over something silly, and I told him like, "You're so stubborn." And he said right back at me like, "You are too." And I just remember being so shocked like, I am stubborn? And yeah, like I had never thought I was stubborn until that moment. So, like back to my point, like if Jake and I would have an argument or if we're upset at something, like I just pray to God, like literally as if I would speak to a friend. Like I would just tell him literally everything, like, God, Jake just said this and I am so upset because of this, and I didn't like how he spoke to me, and don't you think he's a little selfish, blah blah blah. And like at the end I do add like, but God, if there's something that I need to change, or there's something that I need to fix, like please let me know, because right now I'm pretty sure Jake's the only one who's at fault and I have not done anything wrong. And God is so good, and he does teach me and he does make me realize. And then like I do apologize to Jake, and then like Jake obviously does the same thing. And so yeah, I think just praying is very important. And second thing I would say is like I try to find my joy and satisfaction and like love and stuff like mainly from God. Like yes, Jake is an amazing husband. I am so grateful for him. And I was just actually talking to my mom this morning how he's been an amazing husband, and like I think he's ready to be a dad because he's been so busy lately, and he hasn't complained anything. Like he's been so helpful with all these house chores, and yeah, just he's been so busy and he's been so helpful. So he is an amazing person, but we're all human and we all come short at times, like myself obviously. So like whenever we see each other at shortcomings, like instead of complaining about it or comparing it to other husbands or wives, like I try to remind that only God is my true source of joy, love, and hope, and that Jake can't be my savior. Like he can't fully satisfy my longings, and we're just to push and pull each other towards God as brothers and sisters ultimately. So that's what I try to remind myself. And yeah,
that's words of wisdom, because I think so many people, cross-cultural marriages or not, need to hear those words that you just said about going to God first, having him as your friend and praying to him about your situations, not going to a friend. Now, you certainly can, we're not opposed to going to friends and talking to them, but you should go to God first. And then the friend should not be a gossiper or someone who's going to give you bad advice,
right.
But it should be somebody that you can trust and talk to. So I think that's really wise. I'm also glad to hear that you think he's doing well, because I hate to put my hands on him. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, there's a lot of wisdom in going to God first. I'm grateful to hear that. That's fantastic. Anything else that you'd like to talk about with the marriage or your child coming up that you'd offer some advice or specific tips for anyone listening?
I guess just like trying to be more patient with each other, trying to put each other in like sacrificing instead of I want this, I want that. Like you need to serve me this way, you need to serve me that way. Jesus came to serve us. And so if we were to live like him, we are to put other people first instead of me being selfish. And it is so easier said than done. But I think if you can try to sacrifice what you want and like you try to live the way that Jesus did on the earth, like, and follow his way, I believe that God will bless you and he will help you. And we can't do it with our own strength, only through God. So
yeah, I think that's well said. And I think that's a great way to end our conversation because you're spot on. And I'm so grateful for you being in the studio today. And I'm so grateful that you're part of our larger family and that you're also my sister in Christ, which is kind of crazy to think about, being that you're my daughter-in-law too. So I usually end the conversation with a bear your shield command to everybody out there, but I think it'd be appropriate, Nayoung, if maybe you close us in saying, bear your shield in Korean. So can you let her fly?
yeah, 방패를 들어라.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.